Hello, everybody. I am back with another video, and this video is going to be very interesting. This only applies to the state of Texas. I do not know about any other states, and I do not live in Texas, but I have worked in Texas, and I can tell you I stay up to date with Texas because I do have family there. Sometimes I hear about the shenanigans that is happening in Texas, considering that there are family matters and things that they have to tackle instead of confront and approach with the law in mind. So, a new Texas law just entered the chat, and it's Texas House Bill 3181, which is the bill that covers parent child visitation enforcement. Orders usually come from a court, and that court usually tells the main custodial parent, you're going to give visitation rights to the other parent, every weekend, every other weekend, and you will rotate the holidays. That's normally what I see the most of. It just depends on what you and the other person agreed to do, right? Agreed to do in the court. Whether you like it or not now doesn't matter. It's what you agreed in the court at the time that you all went to court and made this agreement together. Things could have changed, sure, but until you go revisit the court order, then this is going to be enforceable. So I want to show you a video that I came upon. I'm not going to show you the full video. What I am going to do is I'm going to show you the portion of the video that covers this.
All right, now let's talk about, it's kind of in that same vein, making sure that both parents are able to get their visitations in. There's also this new 3 strikes rule for parents, right, who are trying to block visitation.
Yes. And, it's really important for kids to have access to both of their parents and for them to visit with both parents. But what this is doing now is it's done to address it dovetails in with the alienation issues. It's done to address when one parent withholds the child from the other parent. If they are found in contempt for doing that 3 times, that can now be used to potentially remove that parent as the custodial parent.
Okay, and again, this is just to make sure that kids have access to both of their parents. That basically the state of Texas believes that's very important.
Agreed.
Y'all heard that, right? It is meant to address the child's access to the parent. It is not meant to address your child support. It is not meant to address any of these other things. Every single issue has its own law, and not one box fits all. I will say that some people brought up some really valid concerns. So I'm going to show you some of the TikToks that I found and just some of the comments that I was seeing.
4 strikes and you're out. We're serious this time. Have you been denied your possession rights under a custody order in Texas? Or you can call it parenting time instead of possession. The state of Texas has a new law. It's getting tougher on parents that deny parenting time to the other parent. But first, you would have to bring 3 motions for possession and access against that parent. And that's a lot, but say you've actually done that and it's the 4th time. The new law says that basically, if you win the 4th time, then the other parent that is denying you access is going to jail. And their denial of your possession rights for 4 times is basically ground for modification. So you could get custody or the right to determine the primary residence. Your makeup time will be twice as long as the time that you were unfairly denied. And they'll have to pay your attorney's fees. So will this work and increase pressure on parents that unfairly deny parenting time to the other parent? It's still a big barrier to have to bring 4 different enforcement actions to court. A lot of judges would switch possession sooner, but at least this gives an end date where the judge would have less discretion and not be able to do community supervision or probation anymore. Tell me what you think in the comments.
Okay, and people had a lot to say in the comments. I'm going to read Jacqueline's comment. This law is about protecting the child going through parental alienation due to the bitter parent denying access. This law is not about child support. A lot of these moms' colors are really showing. You can't put a peace tag on your child. Just because a man doesn't or can't pay child support doesn't mean he's forever forbidden from loving on seeing his kids. Y'all got it mixed up and need to realize that having that type of logic is going to cause y'all's kids a lot of pain, trauma in their teen adult years once they are able to process everything. This is why it's so important to put your kids' feelings before yours. And I agree with Jacqueline is saying, I see the problems with this law already, so I'm going to address those. So just because you don't like that person doesn't mean that you get to deny them access to the child that y'all created together. Be an adult. Y'all lay down and did adult behavior in a bedroom or in the back of a car. I don't know where you conceived. It's none of my business, but the child is here. The child has the right to have access to both parents. Priscilla says, are they getting tougher on collecting payments? However, I will say this. Children do not care which parent is doing what. Sometimes they just want to see the other parent. They do not care about any of this. Most mothers, most fathers that have primary custody of their child want to do what's in best interest of their children. But there's too many times in too many cases out here where that bitter baby mama or bitter baby daddy use the child in order to gain some leverage or provide false allegations and try to make it seem like they are the victims. Once again, another person here. How about custodial parents being denied child support and non-custodial parents getting away with being deadbeats, and how the law needs to crack down on said non-custodial parents? Again, 20 OOG, this is not about child support. This is about the child's access. I'm going to need women in this comment section to do better. Ologene SOS US says, what if the parent stops exercising their parental time, then randomly wants to exercise it? I think that this brings up a really good point, and I think that this can cause the child to be confused. And I have a lot of compassion for people that are deprived of what could have been a relationship with that parent. So if I sound passionate and aggravated, it's because I am. Lucky Lexilu says, great. Now they need to do more to help domestic violence victims. Post-separation abuse, coercive control is very real. And I get where this poster is actually coming from because there is a safety concern. However, this law does not protect the child just because it gave you a protective order. I'm sorry to say this because y'all are going to get in your panties in the comments. I just know you will, because somebody is a victim of this. And in all actuality, what the laws in Texas want to do is allow the child to have access to their parents. Most of the time, the perpetrator is going to be removed from the home. While the parental figure who was being abused needs the protection, the child doesn't necessarily, and the child still gets to see the other parent. And sometimes these cases can drag on in court forever and ever. So I do get where this person is coming from. This says we should not have to go to court and spend thousands of dollars to get this enforced. And I get it. Jack and Bree, I understand what this person is saying, because it does take a bunch of legal fees. You have to constantly file police reports. 3 strikes, like this original poster was saying, is actually a lot. You may not think it's a lot, but it can become a lot. And let's say that dad lives in Houston and mom lives in San Antonio. And in this case, I'm going to flip-flop the roles. Let's say that mom shows up to pick up her child midway and dad doesn't show up. And she sits there for 3 hours waiting at a Buc-ee's gas station, waiting and waiting, calling, trying to send text messages, trying to contact the people to see what's going on, just trying to make sure that she's at the right place. And the dad sends a message later that night saying, I just didn't feel like going and dropping off my son. You have to understand that takes time, that takes resources, and you should be doing everything like this for your child. However, when somebody does this to you 3 times, that is a lot, because every single time you have to go file a police report, wait for the police to show up, wait for that report to be processed, get it back, go take it to a lawyer. It is a whole process. What about parents not paying child support, owing close to $70K? Brandy, again, good Lord, women, get it together. Focus on the matter. Yes, you can be mad at your baby daddy for not paying child support, but you lay down with that person and you made that baby. So it is what it is. The child still has the right to have access to the other parent, whether you like it or not, whether they're paying child support or not. That is not a reason to keep a child away from their parent. These bitter baby parents over exaggerate because they want to get the upper hand and they want a win that doesn't really matter 18 years from now, because eventually your child will grow up and will remember all of this. I'm on the side of the child, not on the side of the bitter baby mama, bitter baby daddies, or people that don't have the emotional intelligence to deal with the fact that they created a child. Deanna says the strikes are designed to provide income for the lawyers in court, not protect the parent's possession. Otherwise, it would be addressed adequately the first time. If it would be addressed the first time, it would mean that people would just comply with everything that is in that court order, and people just don't. So there has to be some type of ruling or some type of law that protects the order that was placed by the judge. And I wish that all parents kind of just complied and it was all pretty with nice rainbows, butterflies wrapped up in a nice bow. And when you open it, it's just magic. I wish it was like that. It's just not like that. A lot of parents get mad at each other and use their visitation time as a bargaining chip in order to get the upper hand. So I get where Diane is coming from, though, because just like her, I was like, what is this going to do for lawyers? Stinger says 4 strikes, that means $3K minimum for each motion. Sounds as though it won't help much considering how much it will cost. A lot of attorneys in East Texas want at least $4,500 and they want it up front. Wow. If they're going to make this into a law, they need to find a program that assists the parent who is being alienated. I'm not going to say dads. It can go both ways. Anyone get on payment? Can anyone get on enforcement visitation? It's your time. Get him. I get where E is coming from, because some of these parents that are raising these kids are just tired and they just want some type of break. They want the other parent to actually show up and take this child, take your child. There's some parents out here holding the child out and saying, come get him. And the other parent is like, nah, I'm busy. Like, I'm busy being trash. Sophia softly Anissa says, lack of financial support does not excuse preventing your child from having a relationship with the other parent unless they're a safety risk. Thank you, softly Anissa. Finally, somebody with some logic and common sense who is looking at it from the perspective of a child versus two people that had a child and now don't get along. Thank you so much. This is what I was looking for. Now, was it hard to dig through that and find a comment that actually made sense? Yes, it was. JCFRX says many better parents on here, personal choices prevent a lot of these issues. I know people are not going to like that comment, but it's actually very true. You made the choice, you chose that person, especially if y'all were going back and forth and doing makeup, breakup, and here you are. Stop being bitter. Be mad at yourself. Stop being mad at the law. Stop being mad at, be mad at yourself. Enough is enough says, notice all this money in the bank for attorneys, no judges. So much for protecting the children. If they're going to be enforcing this, they need to find a program or some type of system where people who cannot afford this attorney fees can actually go and stick up for themselves and their children, because this seems to be very elitist where somebody who has the money can just win, right? If you have the money, you can just shut somebody up. We've all seen it. We all know there's corruption out there. We're not going to sit up here and act stupid like it doesn't happen. If you're interested in watching this whole law being discussed in the Senate committee in the state affairs, I suggest that you go watch this video. Now, I am a nerd. I'm the kind of person that likes to hear it from the horse's mouth. I like to actually go based off of facts instead of TikTok and instead of social media. Now, I'm giving you this video, but I'm going to encourage every single person to go do their own research. Just because I'm showing you something does not mean that it's factual. So, Texas Family Law House Bill 3181 is a bill that covers parent-child visitation enforcement, and that's just what it is. Okay, so now before people become emotional and trauma dump in the comment section, of course, this is not going to fix it all. We all know that there's always going to be loopholes. Someone's always going to find a way, and it does not address some of the legitimate concerns some parents have. So I just want people to remember that this is in the best interest of the child. It is meant to protect the child-parent relationship and meant to allow children to have access to both parents. Using your child as a bargaining chip for child support may or may not work in your favor. But I can tell you that a child grows up, they're going to be able to process this, and they may not care whether child support was the reason why you kept them from their other parent or not. Sometimes all they remember is growing up and wanting to have communication with the other parent. So I can find you plenty of stories out there of grown children who have gotten no contact with the parent, who ruined the possibility of a relationship with the other parent. That just go on TikTok and look it up. Once they're able to advocate for themselves and they're ready to tell their story, you will find a lot of these children went no contact. And now they're searching for the other parent because it's natural for you to want that relationship with the other part of you. Now, yes, granted, there's some parents that are crappy and they walked away. I get that. There's deadbeats on both sides of the aisle, but this is not about that. This is about the parents that are doing the right thing or trying to do the right thing, and they're being punished by the other parent because they moved on, they have a new girlfriend, they have a new wife. Just because I don't like the fact that he moved on and I haven't, doesn't mean that I get to make the decision for our child and basically make sure that our child feels a specific way about it too. No, that's just the way that I feel. My child is allowed to feel the way that he feels about his father based on his experience. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. So this also doesn't address something that somebody brought up in the comments, which is what if there's a safety concern, right? So especially when a child makes an outcry of abuse, and the outcry could be against either parent. It doesn't just have to be the custodial parent or the visiting parent. It has gone both ways. So it is important to continue to file a report with law enforcement and Child Protective Services. Now, I know people will trash CPS and they'll trash law enforcement saying they don't do anything. Well, sometimes they don't do anything because there's no evidence. I hate to call it out, but it is what it is. I've had situations where I've had to deal with somebody and they were like, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure he never sees his kids. And I'm just like, what does that do for you at the end of the day? So anyways, I want to know what y'all think about this law. I want to know what y'all think about everything that Texas is doing in order to address the situation where parents are not complying with court orders and they are purposely defying the visitation. This is about what's in the best interest of the child. Look into your child's future when they're able to advocate for themselves and see how that may go. Children have the right to see their parent. Parents have the right to see their children. Anyways, that's it for today's commentary. If you want to have conversations around people who are center leaning without extremes left right views, then please consider subscribing and like this video.